Welcome to a very special Veterans Day episode of Stemless Faceoff podcast. Today I'm joined by my husband for the first time co-hosting with me, Tyler Everett. He who proudly served 15 years in West Virginia Army National Guard, deploying multiple times in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Along the side, I have a very special guest, Daniel Green Beret. Dan Henderson.
You gotta tell them the story now that you're laughing so hard.
I was saying Green Beret. It's okay, fine. It's okay. It's all good. Everybody knows I always fuck shit up, but anyway. Along the side, special guest retired Green Beret, Dan Henderson, a U.S. Army Special Forces veteran with over 20 years of active duty and numerous combat deployments around the world. These two incredible men, like all veterans, hold a very special place in my heart. Today, we honor their courage and their service and every hero who's worn the uniform. So welcome to the podcast, and I'm gonna start with Dan and let us tell us a little bit about your background and who are you?
So I grew up in Georgia. I was born in Alabama. I grew up in Georgia. Nothing crazy there. And then I graduated high school in 2001. And I had no aspirations to join the military or anything like that. There's nothing going on. And you didn't really know anything about it. And then 9/11 happened, and I didn't know anything about the Twin Towers or anything like that. I just knew that we had been attacked, and I wanted to do something. So I joined the Army, and I originally joined as a 11 Bravo infantryman, and graduated basic training, AIT, got assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, and literally 6 months later, I was in Kuwait. And that was the November time frame. We did the invasion happened in March. And so we did the invasion, came back home, met my wife. Well, we had met before that, but then started dating. And it was funny because we dated. I think we only dated for 3 months, and then we got married. And then a year later, my son was born. So did another deployment with that unit, and then I went to Alaska for a little bit, and then my son wound up developing epilepsy, and the healthcare in Alaska, for especially military healthcare, they do their best, but they're not really equipped for things like that. So I went on a compassionate reassignment to Arizona for about a year and a half, and we got him. We got him treated. He was doing a lot better. And I didn't really know what I was going to do at that point. I just I had some options. I could either gotten out, or I was attached to a recruiting company. I wasn't a recruiter, but I was attached to a recruiting company, and I could have went to recruiting school or something like that. And a buddy of mine called me, and I served with in my first unit. And I'll name drop him because he's a good buddy of mine. His name's Mark Bickle, but he had went to Special Forces selection when I went to Alaska, and went through the pipeline, graduated, got assigned to 3rd Special Forces Group, Fort Bragg, and went on his first combat deployment. Not his first combat deployment, but the first one in SF. And he was telling me about how awesome it was and what the life was like and all that other stuff. And I knew in the beginning of my career that I wanted to do something more. Didn't really know a lot about Special Forces. And after having that conversation with him, I looked at my wife and I was like, hey, I want to go to selection, Special Forces selection, or assessment selection. And she was like, okay. She's like, but I made a deal with her. I was like, look, if I don't make it, we really liked Arizona. I told her I'll find a job that keeps me here, and we can just stay here for as long as we can. Went to selection, thank God I made it. Because I don't know where I'd be right now if I hadn't. Went through the pipeline, finished the pipeline in 2010, and got assigned to Fort Lewis, Washington, at 1st Special Forces Group. There, just went to my first team. It was an awesome team, very young team. We were standing up a new battalion at the time, so we just kind of grew together and wound up doing a combat deployment there. Then I went to Okinawa. I left there in 2014, went to Okinawa because we have a battalion out there. Did 2 years there, came back, did another 6 years at Fort Lewis. And I retired in August of 22. So wasn't really thinking about retirement, but things just kind of lined up where I wasn't really sure if that lifestyle was what I wanted for my family. And, the country was kind of in a weird spot at that time. And it was a good time for me to start looking at other things. And my last assignment in my unit, they assigned me to our, we call it the dive locker, but it's the facility that supports all the dive teams, and it gets guys ready to go to dive school. And dive school is very hard, so we have a special course for that. But anyway, when I was there, I wound up taking one of the civilians that worked there, a great friend of mine. He was a scuba instructor for NAUI. And so he put together a scuba instructor course to take, combat divers, put them through this, they call it instructor trainer course for like recreational scuba. And we went through that. There was like 14 of us in the class. It was awesome. And from that moment, when I finished, I knew it was like, this is something that I want to do. This is something that I want to pursue. So we literally finished on Saturday. On Sunday, there was a dive shop in the town that I live in. I walked through the door and just talked with the owner. And he was a vet also. And we hit it off, and I started working for him. And it's funny, the story you were telling me about your guys' business and how you came into it. Mm-hmm. Because he had opened that shop, I think maybe less than a year before I started working there, and he had decided that he wanted to move on. He wanted to move out of Western Washington to Eastern Washington, and he pretty much, this is like a God thing. He pretty much gave me the business. He owed me some money from like teaching classes and stuff, which I wasn't really worried about because I just enjoyed doing it so much. But he pretty much gave me everything. And I wound up moving the business to the same building that my wife owned a hair salon. We moved into the same building, so we're next door neighbors. And I ran my business, and this was before I retired from the military, about a little less than a year before I retired. And that's when the doors for me just started opening, like getting ready to retire. Because shortly after that, I got offered a job to be an instructor at the Divers Institute of Technology in Seattle. It's like this commercial diving trade school. I was their lead scuba instructor, and I took it. And so that was like my post-retirement gig. So I felt very fortunate because it's when we leave the service, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I got to grow up now. I had fought the urge to retire because I was going to stay in for as long as I could. And, things just kept happening that kind of forced that door closed for me. And at the time when that was happening, I was really not in a great place. But then I felt like God started opening all these other doors for me in the diving industry. So I got those jobs. Well, I worked at, we call it DIT. I worked there for about a year and a half. It was great. I loved it. The commute wasn't great because it was about 40 miles from where I lived. And if you've ever driven in Washington State, it's pretty rough, especially during rush hour. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't really any room to grow there. So I, through my business, I had a friend of mine who was a firefighter. And I didn't know anything. It's like, I didn't know anything about the military when I joined. Really, I didn't know anything about firefighting either. But he started talking to me about it, and I'm like, because you're always missing something, right?
Yeah.
Like from the military, you're missing kind of like the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and just the service, I think, is like the biggest part.
Yeah. And
when you serve in the military, it's awesome. I mean, but it's service at such a macro level, you don't really, it's hard to process that. Like early, you probably remember like early 9/11 days, it was awesome. Like everybody was patriotic, and everywhere you went, you were a rock star. It was great. And that tapered off as the years went on. And I still loved it, but learning about the fire service, I was like, hey, this could probably be for me. And my wife always makes fun of me because I always like make these kind of like knee-jerk kind of decisions. So we talked about it, and then I was sitting in my office, and my wife was like, what are you doing? And I was like, hey, I'm signing up to take the firefighter exam. She's like, what? And she knew my friend. They had met, and he's a great guy. He's in a leadership role at the department I work at, and honestly, he's probably one of the best leaders that I've ever worked for, ever. Military included. So she trusted him, but she was just kind of like, okay, sure. And it's another one of those things where the process was so extremely smooth. I took the test, scored high enough to get an interview. I really worked at the interview. If you've ever talked to people that do interviews for the fire service, it's a pretty arduous process, and a lot of people do it for years. But I got a lot of people to help me and help prepare me. So I went through my interviews, they do a virtual one, and then an in-person interview, and then a chief's interview. And I got hired first time, first try, I felt pretty blessed. And that was in August of 23 is when I started working for the fire department. And I've just been doing that ever since, along with Force Blue trips. And we can talk more about Force Blue, because I think that's probably a big marker in my life after I get through with my spiel. But went through it, but we were talking out there, and you were talking about starting Muay Thai and starting something new. And I think as we get older, like, it's important for us to do new things. Like, I look at like my dad's generation, and they're very set in their ways, and it's hard for them to comprehend, like, well, I went through life, why do I need to start doing new stuff now? But I think that just keeps us energetic, engaged, useful, yeah, for sure, and humble, because it wasn't like I joined the fire service and I was like, Dan Henderson, Green Beret, and I was super awesome at it. It's like completely new skill sets.
You're the new guy.
Yeah, you're the new guy. It's like you start from the very bottom, and there was some growing pains with that, and it just, but everybody in the department that I work for, are amazing. They work with you. They want you to be successful. And the thing about, now start talking about service and that career, it's so much more micro, because you're serving people on a daily basis, on a personal level, because you're showing up, and not every call is like this, Chicago fire tragedy call or whatever. It's basic medical call, but these people are having a bad day, and you're there to make their day better, to help, maybe not solve whatever problem they're having, but work it and get them to like a higher level of care. So that connection to service, I think, is just, I'm not going to say it's more impactful, but you just feel it a little bit more. I think it's more impactful for me because, like, we help these people, we get them to the hospital or whatever we're doing, and you might see them again, the next week or whatever. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I've had a pretty good ride so far. So.
You guys have pretty similar careers.
It is. It's funny. We're the same age too. It's just hilarious.
What?
I graduated in 01 too.
Yeah.
So you were what, like 40 when you started with the fire service?
Yeah.
So you did that you started something new and not as a spring chicken.
Yeah.
Are you stopping something?
No, I'm not stopping it. I'm
Okay.
just checking something real quick.
So that goes right into being humbled once again. So you've had a stellar military career. You know, the certifications that you gained with the Special Forces teams are none of them are easy. Free fall, diver. What other certifications did you?
So I was went to Ranger School.
There's a real easy one.
Yeah. Sniper school, and a few other ones. Nothing too crazy, but the dive school was like, I didn't realize at the time dive school was like the big kicker for me, because I was old. I was old when I went to Ranger School. I was 32.
Yeah.
I was 35 when I went to dive school. So, and I failed dive school the first time.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Army dive school is one of the hardest.
Yeah.
In all the branches, isn't it? One of all.
Yeah, physically, it's one of the most physically challenging dive courses. I mean, everything is modeled off of. So the Navy's like the proponent for all diving in the military. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of modeled off of BUD/S, right?
Right.
Because you need to have similar skill sets with between us and the SEALs.
Sure.
So yeah, it sucks. So I failed the first time, went back and passed. But I didn't realize how much it was gonna change my life, you know, especially in like retirement, because I did a little bit of diving when I was in the military, but you know, if there's a big dive mission that happens, guess what? Army Special Forces ain't getting that call. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just, but it's a great capability for us to have, because there are things that we do with it. But it just kind of, not knowing it at the time, it just kind of set the conditions for me to be successful, you know, post-military. And it wasn't just the qualification, it's kind of the dive teams are just different in Special Forces. Like it's they're more physical, they're more aggressive, and it's, you know, they're just really hungry. And being older, you know, like doing things when you're older, right? It was just kind of like a reinvigoration of my career going through that. Went on a deployment with my team after that, and it was a great deployment. But it just that was probably the one school. I mean, Ranger School I was really fortunate in Ranger School too, because I was 32, and I had a pretty pleasant Ranger School experience compared to most. I think they didn't recycle anything. I went straight through, but it's one of those schools where you really learn a lot about yourself, because, you know, I've been through the Q course, we call it, the Special Forces Qualification course. It's very, very similar. It's a lot longer. There's portions of it that are very similar to Ranger School, but Ranger School, it's like 62 or 3 or however many days of just like, you're in it. There's no break. I mean, there was. I did go during Christmas time, so I did get a 2-week break there. But and you don't have any rank or anything like that. I mean, they know who you are.
Yeah.
But as far as the other students and stuff like that are concerned, you're all equals.
Yeah, you're essentially just a number at that point.
Yep. And but I think they look for, like, me being older, and I was at E7 when I went to Ranger School, and had I gone there and just kind of tried to coast, I probably wouldn't have made it. Yeah. Because, you know, I think the expectation is higher.
They would absolutely have more higher expectation level for you because of your rank and experience.
So that was a good reset for me at that point in my life too, because a lot of people look at it, they're like, well, if you've already been through the Q course, why do you need to go to Ranger School? And it's just one of those gut checks, man. It's like you want to test yourself, you want to keep yourself relevant. You don't want to get in that mindset of like, oh, I've made it. And I think that's pretty important for, especially being in SOF, because once you graduate the Q course and you earn your Beret, like that's like you haven't done anything. You show up to your team, and then you've got to start earning your spot every day. So I just, you know, between all that, I wanted to keep that mindset in dive school. I think I say this all the time, but the biggest thing I learned about myself at dive school was how to keep myself calm underwater. Mm-hmm. And then I just wanted to bring that back to the surface and live my life that way.
Yeah. So with the fire service now, is there an opportunity that will or has presented to apply the dive certifications professionally there as well?
That's funny. That's funny you asked that, because we do have a dive team.
Yeah.
I'm not on it because they only test for it every 2 years, and the last test was right when I started probation. I just finished academy, just started probation, and the next test will be, I think, February of next year. But what's really cool is I think the department recognized kind of my background and how I could be of service or an asset. So when I was on probation, they actually paid me overtime to like train guys in like dry suit and full face mask.
Yeah.
And I've helped with a couple of drills that they've ran and stuff like that. So they're not it's not one of those things like, oh, you're not on the team, you can't. They recognize that there's value to add. There's value to add there, which I feel very blessed, because I don't think that would be the case everywhere.
No, absolutely. I'm sure it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So you not only join, but you're with a department that is not typical of probably a lot.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah. The culture in my department is because I only really know my department, but I did an academy with a couple other departments, and I feel like the culture in my department is more nurturing. I think, like, you get a couple of those guys that are like, they watch too many movies and they try and keep like a paramilitary like atmosphere and stuff like that, which that's important. And there's a way to do that without, being so intense all the time. But you have those outliers out there, but for the most part, the leadership in the department and the culture is like, hey, we hired you, you made it through academy, let's make you as successful as we possibly can, and let's take care of each other.
Yeah,
That's
more
good.
like a family type environment. That's what I look for, and probably what I talk about a lot in my companies that I work for. Like and I think it goes back to the military atmosphere. If you're in the right unit, and with you guys growing the battalion together, it is a family. It's a brotherhood, right? I think everybody kind of recognizes that, and the longer you're around it, the higher you go to where you can have an effect on it, where you're able to help nurture, using your own words again, nurture that environment and foster it. But I found that I searched that out.
Yeah,
wherever
absolutely.
I'm going.
When I started working at the Divers Institute, the scuba program, because the way that they structure their course, it's a 7-month program for the student, because it's like a trade school, and it's mostly like hard hat diving, like underwater construction type stuff. But in month 6 they do scuba, which is with tanks and not in a hat, and it's a lot different. Well, they get a NAUI certification out of it, but the program was it wasn't in a great place when I started working there. The previous guy who was running it, I'm not sure what happened, but he just kind of left it in shambles. So I get there and they made me the lead, so I had 3 other guys that worked for me, and one of them was a Navy veteran. But the Navy's a little bit different, right? It's kind of weird. And he was a meat eater too. I think he was on a sub, and if you know anything about the naval culture, I don't think that was the best spot for him. Great shape, a go-getter, but I don't think he got the leadership that we got in the military.
Yeah.
So I get there, and these guys are doing the best they can, but they're not really. You can tell anytime you get into. I look at it as like, if you're an educator, you're of service to your students, and they all had great intentions. They would just lack that leadership bond. So I just went in there and ran it like a little mini team, and and we developed that program. Like I I was going to take a month when I first started working there. I was like, hey, I'm going to take this month. I'm just going to do an assessment, and you guys keep doing what you're doing, and we'll see what happens. I think on like day 2, I was like, no, we're starting over. I was
curious how long it took you
It's
before
like,
you felt
have
like
you
yeah,
started?
I was like, we're starting over. So I brought them in, and we regenerated a new curriculum that was more occupational diving focused, because literally prior to that, the students would go through the scuba cert, and the instructor would be like, after they had shown the proficiency to do all the skills, they would just go do fun dives for the whole month. And I was like, well, they're not getting into a profession to do fun dives. We're actually going to work. So there's going to be purpose behind every dive that we do. And we rebuilt the module. Those guys weren't used to having someone advocate for them. So I found training opportunities for them, like sending guys to dive medical technician. I got one guy a promotion. You know, everything that leadership is supposed to do. You're supposed to serve the people that you work with. And they were amazed at like the turnaround of the program. I was like, it's not hard. You have to take certain things into account. Like when I drive into work every day, because it was a 50-minute commute for me in the morning and like a 2-hour commute in the afternoon. I was like, when I'm driving in, I think about 3 things. I think about how am I going to make this module better? How am I going to make the organization better? And how am I going to make myself better today, along with you guys? So, and I really, like, I'll lose sleep over that. And it worked out really, really well. And they've all kind of gone their separate ways now. I think one of the guys is still working there. It's just the culture of the school. There's things that you can't fix from that level. But yeah, they were, and I told them, I was like, look, this is awesome, right? We're having a great time. We're rolling. I was like, but this is going to end one day. What are you going to do when it ends? Are you going to carry it forward? Or are you just going to go back to where you were before I got here? Like, because it's not for, and that's how we grow as leaders. Because I always try to take like the best attributes from the people that I work for, take those, flush the worst, and you kind of morph it into your own leadership style. And it worked out. It worked out really well there. We got a lot of things done, and I still every once in a while, because I work like 4 jobs, right? But I started working for NALI, the National Association of Underwater Instructors, in May as the Northwest Regional Regional Manager. And they're one of my accounts, so I still do work for them, help run courses and things like that, or talk with the guy who's leading the module now. So I'm still involved. Same thing with the unit, with first group up there. I took over the program that made me a dive instructor. The guy that ran it, I'll name drop him too, Larry Wadsworth, awesome guy. He wound up moving to Idaho, and so I kind of picked it up and kept the program going. So I'll run like one course there a year also. So it keeps me plugged into the unit.
Yeah.
I get to go back, see the guys and stuff like that. But all that stuff really kind of took me, and what really was the biggest game changer in my transition was Force Blue. Force Blue was huge for me, because I joined Force Blue kind of in that about 6 months before I retired. Because the fire department is great, DIT is great, but those guys just don't understand like what this life is like. You can't really have those conversations with those people.
Yeah, I know. I see it like from the outside.
Yeah.
So I'm a civilian, and you can't.
Yeah.
She's sitting here listening to what you're saying. She keeps
And I'm
looking at
just
me. She
looking
keeps
at it
looking
like,
at me
this
because
is
it's
true.
stuff that I've
Stuff, right?
said in one way or another before.
Can't sleep
And some
because
of
of
it is-
work
yeah.
and all that. Yeah, it's you're
Yeah.
just wired different.
Yeah, so Force Blue it's a nonprofit, a 501c3. It was literally like, you guys know Rudy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Rudy, Jim Ritterhoff, and Keith Song come up with this idea on a bar napkin. And I think Rudy was the inspiration for it, right? Because, we go through all this training in the military, and when you're done, it's just kind of It's kind of like, okay, we don't need you anymore. And that's the way it's got to be. Like I understand that.
Yeah.
But how do they repurpose veterans, with the skill sets that you have? And so they came up with this brilliant idea that, hey, we'll repurpose special operations combat divers into marine conservation. And I think they did a proof of concept in the Cayman Islands, and it just started growing traction. They did a couple Super Bowl projects and things like that. But what it really did was, because conservation's I never thought about it beforehand.
Yeah.
Never even crossed my mind. I mean, you hear about it, right? You're just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. But coming from like the marine biologists and scientists and stuff like that, they're like, we can scream this till we're blue in the face, and nobody listens, because that's all we do. It's like when you guys start, piping up about it, people listen.
That's true.
And it also added a level of work capacity that those guys had never seen before, like, with coral restoration and all the projects that we go on. I always tell this story, like when somebody, because I'm the veteran affairs manager for Force Blue, so I handle most of the recruitment that happens. And when guys go on their first trips, I'm like, look, this is how it's going to go, because this is how it goes on all my trips. We're going to get here and we're going to talk to these scientists. They're going to tell us all about what we're doing, why it's important, and everything else. And they're going to tell us that we have so much work to do. And this was actually like my first real project with Force Blue, how it went. And they don't know if we're going to be able to do it, because we only have 3 days or whatever it is.
2 hours later.
Yeah. So on that trip, I was with. We had just finished up. They do a veteran training for Force Blue every year down in the Keys, and the mission was veteran trainings in Isla Mirada. The mission was in Key Largo, or near Key Largo, and I was with. I think 2 SEALs, a former combat controller with the Air Force, a former combat rescue officer, and me. And they give us this whole brief, same thing I just told you. And we literally had all the work done in like 3 hours. so for the rest of the 2 days, they're just they found other stuff for us to do. But the main project was done in 3 hours. And it's the same thing on most of the projects that we go on, because exactly how, like, you get like laser task focused. And I remember that first project, we were moving these, they call them duckbill anchors. We were installing a bunch of them. They hold you ever see the trees that they put coral on underwater so it'll grow? Mm-hmm. Those PVC trees. Mm-hmm. We were installing a bunch of those. So that was the project, to install those. I think it was like 70 of them or something like that. Did it in 3 hours. So then we started moving the trees underwater. And I remember they're like telling us about, the scientists are telling us like, hey, this is where we want them all moved. I think we should do it this way, blah, blah, blah. I was like, look, you just tell me which one to go get, and you tell me where to put it, and I'll take care of the rest. Yeah. And I think we moved quite a few trees in those 2 days so they could install more. But there's that. But then we go on these trips, and it's an opportunity because we've got guys from all the branches, right? We've got Green Berets, Rangers, SEALs, MARSOC guys, Air Force, PJs, combat controllers, from all us off. But you can tell how similar the pipelines are through all that stuff, because when we go on these projects, it's like we don't miss a beat when we start working. And then we'll get a team house, and it just kind of puts you back in that environment. You can kind of let your hair down a little bit and tell war stories if you want to, or just hang out and with people that are of similar litmus as you are. Yeah. So it's pretty awesome.
How many guys do you currently have, like, overall?
And Force Blue?
Yeah.
I think we're right around 60 veterans right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So. And
you started with just the 4 of you?
Well, I didn't come in until 2022. So Force Blue is actually having their 10th anniversary.
Wow.
Next year. So they did a couple team trainings. They bring guys in. I think I might have been like number 25 or something. I could be making that up. But so since I've been there, we've grown. We grow every year. We'll run the veteran training. So we're up to about 60 veterans right now.
And what are the qualifications if someone wants to like be part of the team? Do they have, obviously has to be a veteran, but does it require certain training skills?
Yeah, so we it's for special operations combat divers. So like, you know, Green Berets and Rangers that have been to dive school, like military divers, SEALs, because that's part of their pipeline. The Air Force guys, the PJs and the CCTs, that's a part of their pipeline regardless. So that's really the main requirement. And I think they have to have served one combat deployment is another one. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And then they'll interview through me, and then they'll wind up talking to our director of dive operations. And I mean, I've got a list of guys waiting to get into training, because that's the traction that Force Blue is getting.
That's awesome.
So it's the word is definitely starting to get out. And, you know, we just had I came straight from New York to here we did our annual fundraiser, but we also just released, did you guys see Frog Fathers 1?
No, I haven't seen it, but we wanted to talk to you first.
Yeah.
Is it released already?
So, did you see the first one with
No.
Gonzo and all those guys? So yeah, the second one, we did the premiere for that last Wednesday on the Intrepid there in New York. So, you know, we're not just doing the missions, but we're trying to propagate the message through. And those documentaries are more about honoring, like, the veterans, the World War II veterans especially.
Yeah.
So Force Blue's morphed into this kind of all-encompassing organization that, you know, you've got the Marine Conservation, you've got the kind of veteran, I guess, kind of remembrance. And then we also do the Ocean Conservation School for it's like Gold Star kids of wounded warriors, all that stuff. Once a year we put together like a summer camp, and we'll teach them how to scuba dive, and they'll do like a marine conservation project.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it doesn't just stop there for them though. Like we'll bring them, you know, every once in a while we'll bring them on a service trip, like a mission and stuff like that. Like my son's been through the program. You know, these kids, they go through, it's funny watching these kids go through this program because they all come from trauma, right? It's whether they're a Gold Star kid or their family member's been wounded or disabled or whatever else. We don't make it about the trauma. We make it about kind of the healing, because it's not just healing. I'll tell you what, it's not just healing for those kids. It's healing for us too, being able to go through that with them and experience that. So that's probably the biggest part of Force Blue, because that was the very first mission that I came in on, because I was a scuba instructor. So, and it's probably the most impactful for me, and I love doing it.
How many events you guys host throughout the year?
For the OCS, we'll do one a year usually. The last two have been here in Florida, actually at Loggerhead Marine Life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're right in Jupiter.
Yep, right by Jupiter. We did two at Vortex Springs in the Panhandle.
Okay.
And we did one in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think that was because of a partnership with an organization there. So it's still on a pretty good. Where do you dive in Phoenix, right? We dove in a pool. So
yeah,
it's just never been to Phoenix.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't know.
Really dry.
Where do you dive in Phoenix?
Yeah, really dry there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the most impactful for me mission of Force Blue. But it's all. I mean, they're changing the world, and they're literally, like, this year. We, you know, like Frog Fathers 1, they went over there, they dove off Normandy and did all that stuff. It was really cool to get a chance to watch it. And Frog Fathers 2, it was Rudy, a guy named Adam Wright, Bear Hanlon, the owner of Born Primitive, and myself. And part of the documentary, we actually, some of the coral that we blew up in World War II to actually make the beach landing on Okinawa, we linked up with a coral lab there. An awesome coral lab, probably one of the best ones I've ever seen. And we went and planted coral back in those lands that we had destroyed. So we're starting to kind of have the global impact.
Yeah.
Along with that, and Force Blue. I mean, it's funny. He's talking about that documentary. It's like I don't even know how I made it on that thing because you got Rudy and Bear, and Bear's, he's like a workhorse, right? I mean, if you look at what he's doing right now, he's
amazing. 25.
Yeah, his company along with another one are trying to raise $25 million to pay their medical bills, which is. When have you ever seen that?
You don't. We were just talking about it the other
Black
day.
Rifle and Born Primitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get
Two
Matt Price
powerhouses,
with Black Rifle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's Force Blue. Like for me, it gives me the opportunity to integrate with these guys, learn from these guys, and just do work with these guys. And it's something you just don't really like. If you'd have asked me 5 years ago, I'd be in a documentary. I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. And the documentary is amazing. Like our production team, like you don't really know how things are going to turn out when you're actually there and they're filming and you're doing all this stuff. It's just kind of awkward, especially for me because I don't really do that stuff. But then the production team puts out a product and it's like, this is amazing, and it really tells a story that I think people are forgetting. And I mean, how many World War II vets are around now?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that very recently. I said, somebody that had met a World War II veteran. I said, yeah, you're talking meeting one of like a small handful that are left.
Yeah.
You just every day it's like I'm reading about another one passed away. You know what I mean? And whoever I was talking to recently, did the math real quick while they were talking to this guy, and they were like, "Wait a minute, you lied to enlist."
Mm-hmm.
The guy was like 15 or 16 whenever he enlisted.
A lot of them did back in those days.
My grandfather did. He lied to enlist to go to Korea.
Yeah.
I think he enlisted at like 16 or something like that. It was common back in the day.
Yeah.
They wanted to help.
Years old?
It's crazy.
Well, even 18. Like you look back, we look at our kids and like, wow, I was just a kid. Right?
Mm-hmm. Goes back to 9/11. Your outlook on 9/11. Something big happens and you see a purpose, a point where you can hopefully be of assistance. And so you say, okay, I want to help. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens you're of age. But in those times, these guys weren't of age, but they, some of them, like my grandfather, for instance, my dad told you the story. He was from a very, very, very low income family. He had joined a group of poverty-stricken kids that went around and built historic sites. Like they would build them up for people to visit, public to visit. So naturally, okay, well, I can serve my country and at the same time make some money and kind of get away from this place. So I'll lie and say I'm of age and I'm going to go serve in Korea. Mm-hmm. And so you've what I'm seeing, this trend that you have going on, you just continue to find new and or continuing purpose in life to serve, to do, which is amazing.
Yeah, the service has been such a huge part of my life, my family's life. My wife's a veteran.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she is. That's how we met. We met in the Army.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're coming up on 22 years. So
wow.
It worked out. But
which in itself was extremely difficult.
I know. It wasn't always perfect, but I think once we got through all the hard stuff, she's my best friend.
No, you said birth control.
Yeah, I'm bummed out she's not down here right now. But going back to the service portion of it, it's huge. And I think once people get a taste of that and really embrace it, that's something you're always gonna strive to hold on to.
Yeah.
But what does that look like? So like for me, like the ride, I had my dream job, but the ride has to end at some point. So what am I going to do with the skills that I've acquired throughout my life to continue to serve in some capacity? And Force Blue is a huge part of that, along with being a firefighter.
Yeah.
I love being a firefighter. I work with some awesome guys, and it's so funny because I look at my leadership in the fire service and how passionate they are and how much they know, and want to impart that wisdom and just really grow the individual firefighter. I was like, that was me like 3 years ago, and now I get to receive that, which is not something that usually people at my age get in a place to do. And we talk about growth. People, you hear all the time, there's only growth through discomfort, right? I got very uncomfortable, at some points during fire academy and probation and things like that. But it just makes you more resilient. You got to take it seriously, because the job, firefighting itself, it's a very rewarding job, but it can be it can turn into a very complacent job too, because the frequency of those high impact calls, especially in the department that I work for, it's not like FDNY where they're getting stuff every day, or like a major urban area. So, but the potential is always there. So some guys and girls take it seriously, some don't. I'm really excited to see, because we're kind of having like this generational change in the fire service. Like a lot of the older guys are retiring and stuff like that. And anytime you do a job for 30 years, it's hard not to get a little complacent. Yep. I understand that, but we're kind of, in my department specifically, we're kind of having this reinvigoration of like younger leadership. They're getting promoted and or acting as officers and things like that. So I'm really excited to see the culture shift, or not shift completely, but evolution in like 3 to 5 years, and where they're at, because we've got some pretty stellar guys coming up. So.
I was going to ask how it's starting to look now. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. You have some that'll get a little power hungry sometimes, and some that just they've been mentored 100% correct, and they take after the people that
you see both. You see more of the second one in my department, which I'm very thankful for. There's a couple that, and you see it when, like, probation in the fire service is such a funny thing, because like I was 40 years old, retired military guy on probation, and I've got like these 20-something-year-old guys.
That's if you fun.
Basically, sometimes telling me like how I don't know how to live my life. And I'm like, okay, sure, you're respectful, and it's just kind of like, whatever, dude. But
taking on the jet.
But the culture of probation, and this is, it's not everywhere in my department. It's actually the probation culture in my department's actually pretty good. But you still have those outlying crews where it's like, you mind your P's and Q's, you sir, yes sir, all this other stuff. And I'll have conversations with some of the leadership. I'm like, so you're going to tell me, because I had a very good probation. I started out at our busiest station, because we do fire and transport ambulance. So I started out on an ambulance at our busiest station. Great leadership team there. He's a captain now. And then my mentor was awesome. All the guys on that crew were stellar. And they promoted, it was still like the expectations of probation, like, you're gonna wear your collared shirt every day, you're gonna take out the trash, you're gonna clean, but we're gonna do it with you, and we're gonna make sure that training is a priority over all that other stuff, which was awesome. And then I finished, you have to do they call it a 2-person medic checkoff. Because when you first get there, you're riding with 3 people on the ambulance. It's you, another EMT, and a paramedic. Once you get that 2-person checkoff, then you can be just with a paramedic on the medic unit. So it's like a legit, that's what we run normally anyway. So So I did mine really fast. It was like, I think I was on like my 10th or 11th shift when I did mine. And right after that, they moved me to a fire engine only station, to our, I think it was our slowest station.
Oh, wow.
So it was like this big change in dynamic at work. Like, I'm sleeping through the night most nights, you know. And it could have been, and I know why they sent me there, because I think I was the best option for that environment. Because if you sent like a brand new 20-something-year-old probably there could be, you know, like a lax in attitude or whatever.
Yep.
But the crew I had at the new state at that station were amazing also. Like my officer and my lieutenant, so passionate about the fire service, and he, you know, they have professional development training that they go through. There's classes. It's different from the military in a sense where, you know, in the military they kind of force you to go to like professional development and stuff like that. Well, in the fire service you kind of got to seek it out on your own. And there's ways to get it paid for and stuff like that, but you can literally not do anything for your 20, 30-year career, or you can go to all this awesome training and stuff like that. And my officer had done that, super passionate. We trained every day. It was and it wasn't like crazy training, you know, like we're 3-4 hours just, you know, just getting after it. We might do one fire evolution a day, just to kind of keep like bread and butter skills fresh and stuff like that, which I think is super important.
Yeah.
Because just like in SF, like we always say we're masters of the basics, because you don't have the fundamentals down. How are you going to do all that advanced stuff? And my officer in the fire service, I think, looks at the training and all that stuff the exact same way, and it shows. My crew, like I'm the least senior guy on my crew. We did a live fire evolution earlier this year, and we crushed it. And my officer wasn't even there. It was just we have another guy on my crew that can be an acting officer and our medic, and it was me, and we crushed it. And I attribute it to my officers like kind of push to do that training every day. But some crews don't do that, so, and it shows.
Yeah.
So
Keeps the skills sharp.
Yeah.
But it's like the amount of time you spend on a range, right?
Yep.
If you start slowing that down, then your skills are going to start to diminish.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find a lot of teams like that. That's
Yeah. So I had a very pleasant probation in that regard. And nobody really messed with me either. Yeah, every once in a while you have somebody that's like, "Hey, probate," you know, it's like, okay.
Like a special
Sir, yes,
ops,
sir,
very much
yeah.
off.
yeah. You get people that number one, it's like, oh, this guy's SF, or you know,
He's a
two,
badass.
he's older, so that's because you know I'm young and I have seniority over him. Let's do it anyway.
Yeah, and it is what it is. It's fun. Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, sir, yes, sir, I got you.
Yeah, being able to take it on the chin
Yeah.
though speaks volumes for you as a person, your personality and
Yeah.
character. I mean,
Well, I gotta, you know, it's just like being in the teams, man. You gotta earn it every day.
Yeah.
If you go, and attitude is infectious, and you see it in the military, you see it in the first responder community. Like, I'm in a position now where I go and they call it hoboing. So since I'm so low on seniority, if somebody calls in sick from another station, then I usually get bumped over to go cover for that or whatever. So you get to see the different dynamics of different crews, which is awesome. I actually love hoboing quite a bit because I've worked every station in our district. And some crews, you know, attitude, for the most part, I'd say 90 to 95% of the crews, amazing. But you get those outliers who, they just, you know, might have a little bit of a bad attitude. It's like, how do you mitigate that? Because that stuff, especially with like newer people coming in, like more malleable personalities, you know, like your young 20s and stuff like that, because we're getting quite a few of those. I don't want them to get a bad taste in their mouth in the beginning because somebody isn't happy at their job. So, because it's honestly, we're all very blessed to be there. So,
I actually had one of my laborers one time came to me. I was having stress, had a bad week, you know, with work and everything. Guy comes up to me off to the side one day. He says, "Hey, what's going on?" I a Haitian guy, real nice. What's going on? I said, I'm good. He said, no. He said, you don't understand this. He said, but essentially what he told me was my attitude and my demeanor was reflecting and projecting on everybody, and I was bringing the morale of everybody down, and I didn't realize it until he said that, and I was like, oh man. And so I had to like do that gut check and say, hey man, no matter what, you gotta pick it up for the good of everybody.
Another thing too, like in that environment, military, first part, all of it, if you're walking on eggshells, like me as a sport, if I'm walking on eggshells around my leadership, then I'm never going to perform to my fullest potential, because we really only learn through failure.
Yeah. Like
for the most part, if I'm walking on eggshells, I'm never going to get to that point, because I'm going to be just so timid. Like it's like, I don't want this guy to yell at me, or I'm just going to avoid him. I don't want to ask him what the right thing is, because what's he going to say, and all that other stuff. And if you breed that culture, you're never going to get the full potential out of the people you work with. I got promoted really young in the Army, and I was a hard charger. Like, I would be loud, I would yell, I would do all this stuff. I had no business getting promoted as young as I got promoted, but and I thought that was the right thing to do, right? Because that's how I got it.
Yep.
And when I started going through the Q course, I noticed the NCOs had, some of them kind of had that mentality. For the most part, it was the demeanor changed a little bit. And then when I got to my first team sergeant, awesome guy. He's, multiple combat points, like hard combat points, Iraq and Afghanistan. He was a 18 Delta, which is our medic, with Special Forces medic. So that in itself, the pipeline for those guys it's crazy what they learn. They forget more about medical stuff than I'll ever know. But and he was Ranger School graduate. He had every bell and whistle you could think of, like schools and stuff like that, and experience. And I don't think I ever heard him yell at all. And the culture that he promoted, like, you just didn't want to disappoint this guy, because his expectations were high.
Yeah.
But he would give you just enough rope to where you get to that point where you were about to fail, and then he'd reel you back in and be like, hey, where was your head at when you made that decision, or when you were about to do that? And he's like, did you think about this? And you're like, oh, wow, no, I didn't think about that. And it just kind of opens up that left and right limit, through mentorship. And I was so thankful that he was my first team sergeant when I got in the group, because I think from that point on, it really set the tone for the type of leader that I wanted to be. And I kind of just tried to take that culture and move it forward throughout my career. And it worked out well. And it works out well in the fire service too, when the guys do that. So it shows people that you care. And you're not just like, a body to do a job when you invest in people. So
yeah, or out to make yourself look good only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're out because you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if somebody's extremely verbal, overly verbal, with the yelling and whatnot, they're trying to make a spectacle so people see, oh hey, this guy's kind of beating his chest, instead of taking the time to foster growth in people.
Well, if I got to tell you I'm in charge, then
you're not really in charge.
You're not really in charge.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, or I'm not really in charge. So people like true, from what I've seen throughout my whole life, like true leadership, like healthy leadership, you don't have to, you don't have to tell somebody that. Like, I automatically know, like, this person is in charge, and I want to earn that person's respect. They want to earn mine. It's a mutual thing, and it just makes that training environment, that operational environment, so much more productive. And but I've had bad team sergeants too, or not super bad, but I've had the opposite end of the spectrum too.
Yeah.
So it was good for me to go from that to kind of the, the other team sergeant who's more. It wasn't that he was a bad guy. He just wasn't necessarily, as competent as he could be tactically and things like that. So he would overcompensate a little bit, and you could see it. You could see that stuff right away.
Yeah.
So then you talk about taking the good and flushing out the bad. So I think we need to experience that, both sides of it, just to kind of form our own leadership style. So.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Let me ask you this: when you get in a situation like that, where you have somebody that, in the teams, maybe not as tactically proficient in certain areas as what they may be expected to be, as an A team, do you guys? I would assume everybody kind of picks up that slack, right?
That's the beautiful thing about a team, right? Like, if you've got a team full of Dan Hendersons, then we're only going to have one way to solve a problem.
Right.
And the way that Special Forces recruits and selects and all that other stuff, I had on all the teams that I've been on, you have like this wide range of backgrounds, from blue collar to white collar to Harvard grads to, like me, like redneck from Georgia. And so it's kind of like, and we're all good at different things. And for the most part, like, we can bring each other up to, that's what we do. We cross train and we bring each other up to the level that we need to be. But it's with the expectation that if you're better at certain things than certain people, then you take the lead on this. And that's a great thing about being on an ODA. And it's the same thing in the fire service too. So, like, if I'm on an ODA and we're doing a jump operation, right? And I'm a jump master, and like, say my team sergeant hasn't ran a jump in 5 years because he's doing team sergeant stuff. Guess what? He's gonna be like, "Hey Dan, you're running this," and that's cool. Or like the guy that goes to like sniper school, and we go do a long range day. It's like, "Hey, you sniper school. Why would I try and tell you how to shoot and run a range and all this other stuff? I want you to train the rest of the team."
Yeah.
So and the fire service is the exact same way, because you've got, like, they have different specialty teams, right? You have your hazmat team, your tech rescue team, wildland team, dive team, or water team, all these different specialties. So if we go to a really bad car accident and there's a guy from the tech team there, the lieutenant's going to be like, "Hey, you're running this," and everybody's focus kind of shifts, and he's the guy in charge, and he kind of leads the way in, running that extrication or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So,
I love
in the infantry, it was a little bit different, because you had your squad leaders and your team leaders. And when I came in kind of in a weird time, because Afghanistan had just happened, and we were still using kind of like post-Vietnam tactics.
Yep.
So it was very traditional, kind of, and even when I got to my first unit, it was kind of that way. So it was like the squad leader kind of ran the whole squad. I mean, the team leaders did too, but there wasn't like Private Henderson here. "Hey, I got an idea, guys." Like, shut up,
Yeah. So,
and the culture has shifted. I believe in the military. I'm not sure. I haven't been in the regular army in so long, I couldn't tell you.
they were trying.
Yeah.
It was something that I fought in favor of. Hey, we've got, especially, I was a National Guardsman, man, so we had people of every background.
Mm-hmm.
We had guys that were cops, we had guys that, did damn near everything. So I was kind of the mentality, hey, we've got people that are good at this. Why aren't we using them? I may be a squad leader, but it doesn't mean that I know all this stuff. Yeah, I can read it out of an FM, but it doesn't mean that I know it. We've got techniques, again, going back to existing training when we're gearing up to go overseas. It was all outdated. We have guys that work beats in the city as cops or SWAT team guys. Why don't we let them do some training before we go? And there was a lot of pushback for a while, but again, being not active duty and having all those backgrounds, we were kind of able to, it is going to work for us. Let's do this, right? But the military, the Army, the regular Army, tried to shift into what they called train the trainer, which is essentially exactly the way you guys did things.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this guy's been through this course. He's the SME here. Let's let him train it.
Yeah.
I hope that it was successful. I got out in 15, so
Yeah.
to that point I can't speak to now, but I know it was being attempted, and the way that you guys did things and do things is, I mean, obviously it's very successful.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you can be good at everything.
No.
So, like, when I was in, I was a sniper, was a jump master, and a couple other things. So I ran that stuff. Now we had like the CQB guys, the big time dive guys that would, like the dive soups and stuff like that, run dives. Like, you can't do everything, and the team sergeant is such a unique role because he empowers the team to do that thing. He kind of sets the trajectory of where the team's going, and uses the guys on the team to get there. It's not like, hey, we're going to do it this way because I said so. It's you're the guy, so you run this range. Or like an 18 Bravo weapons guy, you're going to run the ranges. I was a Charlie, and I was a demo guy. So like, we did the demo range. Guess what? I was expected to run that range.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with medical training, deltas and stuff like that. It just works really, really well. And then you just learn so much. You learn so much about the other MOS's jobs and stuff like that from the cross training, and it blends together pretty nicely. I mean, because when we go overseas, we're not just working by ourselves. Usually we have a partner for us, especially in combat. We'll partner that. And we're expected to help train, continue training for that partner force and run operations with them. So, me as an 18 Charlie, I probably need to know how to run a weapons range. Because what if the Bravos are off doing something else or stuff like that? So that's where that comes into play.
Yep.
I might not run it as well as they do, but I've got all the basic concepts and things like that. And because we're force multipliers essentially. So
Yeah. Very successful.
That's pretty cool. I have some fire questions before we end up doing a podcast for 5 hours.
That'd be easy.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
Didn't realize, like, oh my god, we're here for 4 hours. So what are some of the lessons from the military that still shapes your daily life today?
That's a good question. So, you could do the cliche answer and say discipline, but that's like, you start talking about motivation, right? Like, if I have to motivate myself to do something, then it wanes over time. It really does. And I kind of got that way for a little bit. Like, oh, I'm not motivated to do that. I don't want to do that right now. Whatever. I met throughout the military, like, there's a ton of different things you don't want to do every day, but you have to. So that instills discipline. So, and there's been times in my life where that discipline has kind of fell back, and I've had to rein it in. But that would be probably one of the biggest attributes that I try to do, and just kind of keeping that service mindset. And it's not just serving like the public or serving the community; it's serving each other, like your teammates. We always talk about, I didn't learn this terminology until I joined the fire service, right? Because they do a pretty good job of promoting that, but they use like internal and external service. So external being the community, internal being each other. So that was something, like, I've always known that. I didn't put a word, like a buzzword to it. But it was like, oh yeah, I've been doing that, and now I've got to work for it. But hearing that just reinforced, like, how am I going to be of service to my teammates today? And that's pretty big in the culture of the fire service, which I was, it can be hit or miss in the military, depending on what unit you're in. In the teams, we did a pretty good job of taking care of each other, but in some of the other units I was in, maybe not so much. But in the fire service, it's doctrine, and you can really, it really shows when crews are doing that. But yeah, the discipline, the service, and then when I joined the fire service, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but family. My family wasn't really involved in my military career, especially when I was in SF. I mean, my wife and son knew where knew what I did, knew where I was going, but I didn't share a lot of that with them, especially on deployments and stuff. I mean, we lost people and stuff like that, so they would see that, anyway. But I didn't share a lot of it. When I joined the fire service, I looked at my wife, I was like, hey, guess what? We're doing this together. And in doing that, my wife's she's a CrossFit coach also. We got her tied into running like our recruit physical fitness program, and then she also runs a couple workouts a month at different stations in the department that I work for. So holding that would be my number one, is just the family aspect of it, because we went so long being kind of compartmentalized. I was like, whatever happens here, we're talking about it. Yeah. The good, the bad, the ugly, because I want you guys to be a part of this as much as I am, because the separation, I think, for all that time really took a toll on both of us. And my wife, she's a superstar. Like, she raised our son for the most part, and he's a great kid. And she did it with a mindset of, like, she probably could have, like, reversed it and, like, made him grow up to hate me. But she was always like, Dad's got to go here, Dad's got to do that. She always was that kind of rock and reinforcement in his life and my life. So it's like, I need a little bit of that now. We're gonna do this together. So.
How old's your son?
He'll be 21 next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has he handled the fire service aspect after growing up and seeing you, deployed a lot with the SF? He handles it pretty well. Yeah. He's in college, so we talk about it, but I'm home. I might be gone for 24 hours, but I come home and we hang out and we talk. He's our relationship was kind of strained towards the tail end of my career. Yeah. Because he was just in those adolescent years, and how he's growing up, hormones and all that stuff. So I feel like now, because I take them to all the events, he gets to see, what the job is, what's it about. If he ever wanted to pursue it, it would be, definitely an avenue for him to do. Yeah. But it's more tangible for him. So we talk about it a lot more, and I think he feels a lot more connected to that than he did the military. Yeah, he's probably been able to get a more of a respect, or build a respect now for what you did, what you've done, and what you're doing. Yeah. Than when he was younger. He wanted to be a Green Beret. That was his thing. And with the epilepsy, it's just showstopper. So, and that, I think it kind of, that was part of, we were going through all that stuff. Our relationship was strained. He was going through that, and we're getting to a point now where we're starting to overcome that. He's starting to see, like, hey man, you can't be in the military. That's okay. You're gonna be such a force in whatever you decide to do. So just let's figure out what that is. It might not be military or first responder. So now he's going to school to be a mechanical engineer. I'm like, oh wow. Wow. I'm like, all right.
That's awesome.
Like, all right, that's
not easy.
Do it. Yeah, it's not easy.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I guarantee if you finish that, that same sense of accomplishment or whatever that you were looking for from military or fire or police or whatever you were looking at before, you're going to feel it, because that's going to be a significant achievement.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Totally. Wow, how cool. So you only have one son?
Yep.
So if you could describe brotherhood in one word, what would that be?
You already said it in one word.
I'm like, what?
That would have been my answer, brother.
Yeah.
How did I get lost in translation already? I can't even speak in Spanish here. What is going on?
In one word?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
different. Hey.
Yeah. I think probably accountable.
What about you?
T.
Be accountable to each other. You know, like hold each other accountable. 'Cause we talk about the positive aspects of brotherhood and being there for one another and all this other stuff. There's also a portion of us where it's like, hey man, you're messed up right now. You know, you gotta reel it in. So accountability is, you know, on your part and your teammates' parts.
It's huge.
What moment in service tested you the most, but made you stronger?
So before I went to Okinawa, and this is not a combat story, and this is probably going to throw you off a little bit, but my wife, we had found out she was pregnant, and it was awesome. We were supposed to leave for Oki, I think like 3 months later, and you know, we were looking forward to it. Well, she miscarried, and my son was he was young at the time. I think he was maybe like 10 or something like that. This had been the longest we'd been in one place, and it was just a weird time in our life. We didn't want to uproot him, and so we prayed about it, and we basically came to the decision that I would go to Okinawa on an unaccompanied tour by myself, which, you know, a lot of people look at that and are like, why would you do that? Why would you do that without your family? And I think that separation, like, because I've always been a Christian, kind of, you know. I've always believed in God, but I didn't have that relationship with God that I wanted to. And in that 2 years, we kind of, I'm not going to say we worked on ourselves, but we kind of pressed in a little closer. And when I came home, I mean, I came home a couple times, like on leave and stuff like that. It wasn't like we went the whole 2 years without seeing each other. But when I came home, our marriage was so different in a way that, like, not that it was bad or anything before, but we were more of a unit, and our faith kind of tied it all together. Like, we were kind of on the same faith walk, because my wife is, like, her faith walk is unshakable, even still. Like, she gets on me all the time about reading my Bible and stuff like that. But that was the hardest thing that in my life, that I mean, you can talk about all the deployments, all the trips, all the training, you know, the gunfights or whatever, you know, that happened in country, doesn't even compare to being away from my family for that long. And just knowing, like, we made that decision, like, it didn't necessarily have to be that way, but that's the decision we made. But the outcome kind of, I don't know if we'd be at a place, I don't know if we'd be where we're at right now had that not happened. So it's kind of one of those things, you don't see it until afterwards. But that was the hardest thing that I ever had to do.
But that's a beautiful outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3. No, number 4. I don't know.
I don't even know why they're called rapid fire. It's not that quick.
Well, I'm a little slow, okay?
No, it's,
I don't live with
it's
them,
good
so.
information. It's anybody that listens to this, you know what I mean? If they're not kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, wow. I just went blank.
That 40s is hitting
It
you hard.
is. The 40s is hitting me hard. She laughed at me all the time.
He's
I'm
like,
I'm reeling up for it, and bam, drop
he would
it.
make fun of me for going back because I forget, like, things.
Oh,
I have
yeah,
to go back
yeah.
2 or 3 times and no longer going out. I was like, you see?
I blame it on that my brain is working so hard all the other times that when I'm, like, slowed down, it starts skipping. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna break it
Yeah.
now, man.
Just like when your wife tells you something, it's like, and then like days later brings it back up. It's like, we never talked about that. Yeah, we did.
I think I did that the other day. She swore to me.
Yeah.
No, we talked. I'm like, no, we definitely didn't.
Oh, yeah, well,
I would
was it?
remember this.
Yes.
It was something about
If you don't remember, it never happened.
Oh, I'll remember later. I might be drawing a blank right now, but it's that 40s are hitting me. Muay Thai does help with the memory, though. What does Veterans Day means to you personally?
Me personally, it's a day where, you know, people have barbecues and stuff like that. That's awesome, right? Like, I think the celebration of veterans is huge. But for me, it's a day to reflect on my service, my teammates, my former teammates, the people that we lost, and kind of honor the people that still serve. So like all my buddies that are still in it, or like my nephew joined the Air Force, I'll text him, you know, like Happy Veterans Day and stuff like that. But it really just, it's a day, you know, we have Memorial Day, which is a day of remembrance, but I kind of look, for me, Veterans Day is kind of that way too. And I'll look for, like, you know, you see the guys that like the Vietnam vets and stuff like that, especially on Veterans Day, you know, just kind of going up and just talking to them, and because they don't get that all the time. It's like, I think when people say thank you for your service, it's kind of paying lip service to just something like people feel like they have to say. And I think Veterans Day is a great opportunity to make a deeper connection with the veteran community. We brought up what Bear's doing, you know, that's huge. So he's found his outlet, and it doesn't have to be something as grandiose as that. It's just something as simple as, you know, calling an old teammate, or if you never served, maybe just talking with it. I like finding the old veterans, because you get those guys going, and it's hearing their stories and things like that. It's like, it's pretty awesome. Especially like the Vietnam era guys, you're like, holy crap. Like, I don't know if I would have made it in that one. So
yeah.
Because the guy had it good.
Yeah.
You had a pretty cool story to share from someone that did something
Oh yeah.
at
Friday.
the gym.
Yeah, I was working out on Friday.
Well, he was having he was
Crappy
going through the waves, right? So he was on the down wave of his mental part. So he was at the gym. He went to this gym he typically goes somewhere else, but he went there.
Yeah, so I'm in there working out, and just kind of got started. And I see this older gentleman walk in, and I'm older, maybe in his late 50s, you know. And I'm like kind of trying to make sure I stay focused. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody today. It's just one of those days, you know. And I get done with the set, and he's kind of flagging me down. I'm like, man, here we go. Take my headphone off. First question, do better. And I said, yes, sir. And so he gets to talking to me about how he typically, when he like goes into a parking lot, he kind of makes a trip around looking for veterans license plates. He says, I didn't see any out here when I came in. I said, no, I've got my truck back then. You wouldn't have seen it. And he says, well, I do that because I like to hand out challenge coins to veterans. Do you mind if I give you one? I said, no, absolutely. I don't have an issue with that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the gesture. And he started asking me about my tattoos, and namely the IGY6. So I explained the meaning to him, and you know, a lot of people just see IGY6 and are like, oh, I got your 6. I said, well, it's not that. It's deeper than that. You know, the blue semicolon for PTSD awareness, and the red in the 6 for the blood of the soldiers that commit suicide. And then he sees St. Michael, and of course, you know. So he says, well, I just so happen to have a St. Michael coin too. Do you mind if I grab that while I'm not in my vehicle? Bring it to us. I said, no, absolutely. So he comes in, he brings them in, and you know, this little, what I was hoping wasn't going to last long, we get to chatting. And, you know, I was thinking about how my day was, and it's not like anything crazy happened. It just, you know, how every once in a while you just kind of hit a downward slide, and it happened. And how just this guy coming talking to me when I didn't want to just kind of started lifting me back up, you know, seeing the pleasure in his eyes, and that act of gratitude. But he had tried to enlist. He wanted to be a pilot, so he tried to enlist in the Air Force when he was younger, and they weren't taking any more pilots, so he wasn't able to enlist. Ends up getting contacted. There was some criteria that he was able to meet. He had to take a test. They were going to take like 32 applicants out of 2,700 to get into the pilot's program. He didn't make the cut in the first one, but they asked him to reapply. made the cut in the second one, but the lady he was engaged to decided last second when he got the slot that she didn't want to be a military wife. So he had to weigh what his choice was going to be. He decided, I'm going to stay with the woman that ended up not even becoming his wife. And so he says, that was probably the worst decision of my life. And I said, well, everything happens for a reason. So anyway, he got to a point where he wanted to find a way to show appreciation and still serve, show service to veterans. And it was just one of those things. He said it kind of came as like almost like a divine intervention one day that was what he stumbled across. So he gets a hold of these coins and he hands coins out. He said it'll take him sometimes an hour to get to through the front door of a grocery store because he just keeps finding veterans to talk to and coins to. And so we parted and went about, finished my workout, and he was getting ready to leave, and walked back up to him. I said, hey, there's a group here local. He actually just moved down from Georgia about 6 months ago. But I told him about Operation 300. He said, yeah, I just heard about that group about 2 months ago. I said, well, it would be a really great group that I think, and what you're looking for, you'd be able to get in touch with some really good people. And last thing I told him, I said, listen, I want you to know, I said, you really made an impact on my day. I said, for whatever it's worth to you, I said, it's worth a lot to me. And I really appreciate it. And the guy started tearing up. He said, I appreciate that. He said, you're making me tear up. He said, but I got to go to work now.
I got it.
So just, people don't realize sometimes just a little bit of, a word sometimes can be the world to you.
Well, I look at what you guys are doing here is huge. Like, that's how I started following it, because I think there's a few guys that I know there's a few guys that I know that have been on here, and it's very like, when you see her lead a podcast, this is not the type of podcast that I would have pictured her leading. And the more I got into it, I was like, that's huge. Like, it's huge because of the focus on like the veteran and the first responder community. And I think that's very honoring. I'm very grateful to be here.
No,
and because you just don't see it. You don't see it a lot. And it coming from somebody who's never served to be that thankful and diligent and want to convey that level of gratitude is very amazing, because most people just go through their day and don't think about it. And when people are that intent, when you, like you and him, are super intentional about it, that's it kind of reminds people why you did it, what you were fighting for. And we forget that sometimes. Yeah. We forget that as a country. I mean, just watch the news, right?
Yeah.
But it's those onesies and twosies that do things like that, and that's something that, like, it's awkward for me sometimes to like thank you for your service, or to hear it.
Yeah.
And but the more that, especially seeing like Frog Fathers and doing Frog Fathers, talking to these old veterans and learning more about the generation that came before us, like, they busted their ass, like, for us.
Yep.
And they deserve to be honored.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it has to be this huge spectacle or whatever, but daily, it's just, if people just think about what people have sacrificed. I mean, you brought it up. I mean, we're losing 22 veterans a day. Just think of, I wonder how many coins that guy's passed out to somebody who was right on the edge and maybe pulled them back in.
Right.
How many
Never
lives
know
is
it.
saved?
Yeah.
Never know it because people were quiet. Right?
Yeah, and that's where I see the impact of that, because that's huge. That could completely, like, you were having a bad day and it completely changed your day. Could you imagine if somebody was on like the far end of that spectrum and that guy engages with him? I mean, there's no telling how many people he's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thousands of coins he's handed out, I would venture to guess that at least 100 of those have been savings that he doesn't realize he got. That would be probably a very conservative guess. It's absolute. I mean, the finding out we watched that documentary, Waves of War, finding out that the number of suicide deaths has tripled what the total loss of life was between Iraq and Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sickening, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it's sad that we have allowed it to be like that, and a lot of it comes to what you said earlier, that your time in service ends and they just kind of put their foot out and say, okay, we're done with you, on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember coming back, and again, National Guard, it was you come back and you go back to your job.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I guess I like to think that, okay, well, if I'd have been active duty, at least there'd have been maybe a better transition, because I'm still living that life. Doesn't mean that I'm accurate what I'm saying. It's just my head saying, hey, this would be the nice way to do it. But we come back, we go through demobilization for 2 weeks, and then you're turning loose on the city. Like, hey, you're back home, go live your life, and you're trying to figure out, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? I mean, I failed out of school. I got saved. Like, I was failing out of college and got the call, hey, we're deploying. Okay, well, this is good for me, because I'm like at a loss right now in my life. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, school's obviously not working. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in school anyway. So this will give me a chance to maybe get my life spun around in a positive direction. So we go through it, and we come back, and okay, you're home. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? And had a couple tracks, and I ended up, I think, making the right choices. But I know plenty of people that were, sleeping in foxholes out in their front yard or backyard or whatever, trying to figure out, waking up out there, didn't know what the heck was going on. It's not the right move.
No. Well, I think what Force Blue has shown me, like these veteran organizations, they're popping up. I see a new one every so often. In my mind, and I'm very optimistic most of the time. I try to be.
Yeah.
It's a great thing, because the veteran community, along with some of the civilian community, see the need for that support for these veterans, because literally you're activated one day, you're on the street the next. It's like how do you transition to that? And the military's gotten better about that, compared to like when guys got out. When I first started coming in, it's pretty much like the same thing. They go through a little bit of out processing, and it's like, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
And they have this whole kind of like year of transition, and where they have you do certain things and have certain goals. They have certain resources for you and things like that. But I don't think that like for me, all my stuff was already lined up. I already had a job, a family, house, all this other stuff. So it was a very smooth transition for me. I knew what I was going to do in my next phase of life, at least in the meantime. Mm-hmm. But I also knew that I needed to find some way to get back to, even if it's brief, every so often, get back to not necessarily the job, but the people.
Yeah.
And I try and do that intentionally through, Force Blue, and then doing training at the unit and things like that. And I'm very blessed in that. A lot of people won't get that opportunity. But with a lot of these veteran organizations and things like that are popping up, they're out there. There's a great friend of mine. We lost her husband on my 13 trip. We were both on the B team together for a while, and then we went to separate ODAs, and we wound up losing right at the beginning of the deployment. And she did not come from like a military background. They had been married for a little while. They had 2 kids, 2 very small kids. And so for me, like, I think when you start talking about Gold Star wives and things like that, it's a very awkward thing. And we don't know how to process that as better. Like, how do I interact with this woman who you know, just lost her husband, a teammate. Like, you kind of try to like steer away from it. My wife actually, like because we still had 6 months of deployment to go through. They insulated Krista and nurtured her, and it's, you know, because grief is such a huge thing, and Krista is super resilient anyway. And where I remember it was there's an organization called Wear Blue. Have you guys heard of it? It's the Run to Remember. I think they're all over the country now, but basically it's kind of it's not really a veteran organization. It was started by another Gold Star spouse, but it's for remembering the ones that we've lost. And you do runs. You can do a 5K. You can run. You can walk or whatever. And Krista got tied in with her, and then she wound up starting her own nonprofit. It's called the Young Quiet Professional. And it's a veteran assistance organization, essentially. So how do you, someone that has that tremendous amount of loss, giving back to the veteran community? And she's remarried. She actually, she remarried a great guy. He's another SF guy, and they live in DC. But she kind of makes it her purpose to make that connection to the veteran community, like help ease that burden, whether it's a veteran or surviving spouse or whatever else. And it goes back to, she could have just not done anything, and the impact that she's had on my family too. Like we do yearly trips together and things like that. But where I'm going with this is, for me, like being forced to process that trauma, because I don't think I fully would have processed losing Mike had I not like been so close to her. Makes it a little bit easier for me through Force Blue, especially with the, you know, like these wounded veterans or disabled veterans or Gold Star families, trying to like live Veterans Day every day, you know, be that impactful, get them things or get them in the organization, or, you know, get them on the next trip, the next Force Blue trip or whatever else, because that's the biggest, that sense of brotherhood or that whatever. That's, I think when we talk about these guys, like you were talking about in your thing, that's what they're missing the most. It's like, it's not necessarily the purpose, a little bit of that maybe, it's the people.
Yeah.
So, because you don't really like, you know, there's teammates of mine I haven't seen in 10 years. If he walked through this door right now, it'd be like, we never skipped a beat. You know? I don't have that connection with, you know, people who haven't served.
Yeah.
So it's, and getting these guys and girls that have served, you know, into some type of mechanism that at least gives them that, is something that it's worth fighting for. And I think we're getting a little bit better about it, you know, through like platforms like these and all these nonprofits that are popping up. Because, I mean, everybody identifies a need. It's just how it's kind of executed. So.
Yeah. People that actually care, and letting people know that there's people out there that care, there's people out there that can help, and then taking the step as the person taking the step and actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Is getting them.
Somebody's taking that step. Lots of times.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to.
Yeah.
This or that.
Absolutely. And my wife's the same way. Like, I remember before I retired, I put on a bunch of weight and kind of was drinking a little bit more than I should, all this other stuff. And my wife endured it for like a short period of time, and she's like, no. She's like, we're not doing this. I was like, what are you talking about? Because what happens to a lot of people, especially like the retirees and stuff like that, they'll retire and then they'll, you know, gain a bunch of weight and won't be active, and they die. You know, they die young.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're not playing this game. She's like, it's over. Whatever you're going through, like let's address it. Let's get you help. which thankfully I didn't need a whole lot of help. I just needed to put a dumbass essentially.
That requires quite some
But
help.
my wife's a very powerful person in my life. Like I listen to, like, and we go back and forth. It's very mutual, but she's not afraid to call me out either and make me think about it. And she was a big jumping off point for me before and after I retired. Like, I want to be here for my family. I want to, see my son graduate college. I want to see him. I want to be a granddad.
Yeah.
So not every veteran gets that though. How do we get that get that message out? And people are doing a really good job of it, but it's always something we can continue to grow.
Has to be more.
Yeah. Some way to continue to improve it.
Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you both here, sharing kind of similar stories, but
Yeah, it's funny. The
sides of the world,
similarities are
probably.
crazy.
It's
I didn't
wild.
realize we were the same age too. Paths were slightly different, but there's similarities.
There's always that connection, man.
Yeah.
Like
It's-
there's.
I've told him, but this is the first time he's ever co-host with me.
Oh really? Yeah, I was like, when you sat out, I was like, because I watched a few of them. I was like, all right, good.
Who's this guy?
No, before our niece joined the Marines, she told me that she was going to have me co-host with her or something like that.
But I ended up having her run with it.
Yeah.
Bam, next thing I know, I'm getting interviewed. I'm like, what's going on?
I
This
said,
just
"Man,
happened.
you just interviewed her. That'll be great." And now she does photography and
She's combat
videography
photographer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
for the Marines. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you.
Thank
Daniel.
you. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for making the trip. Happy Veterans Day, and to your wife as well. Maybe next time we'll come up and see them.
Yeah.
Do a podcast up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. It did
Maybe
be interesting.
why?
to get
My
your
door's
perspective.
always open. So
Get your wife's perspective on things. It's always interesting to hear the other side of things.
it really is, and it's something that I think it's so important, but we don't hear it until they lose something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think for the wives that that's so I've met a lot of the wives in Force Blue and things like that, and they get together and they start cackling and all this stuff. But you get to hear their perspective from, like, Sarah never really, like, I talk about how compartmentalized I was. Sarah was also very compartmentalized with, we're more open now, but the similarities, and I think, like, for the people that are going through it now, like with service members, like the spouses of service members and things like that, it would be such a huge thing for them to get that perspective of, like, a spouse who has lived through that and made it on the other end, and like
Yeah.
what they did and how they processed grief and coped with things and basically raised a family and all that other stuff. So it's just something that's not really prevalent. You don't really hear about it. So.
Yeah, no,
This
it's
is
easy to
true.
get an experienced veteran up to say, hey, I've been where you're at, but to get an experienced spouse up to say, hey, I've been there,
Yeah.
I've been exactly where you're at. Here's what helped us. It may not help everybody, but here's some ideas.
Mhm.
And then another spouse comes up and says, well, here's some of these ideas. And then they take what you've done in your life and say, well, I'll take all the good parts of this and build my own. Right?
Mhm.
But to get some ideas on how.
Yeah.
She didn't deal with me when I was actively in, but she's dealt with the aftermath.
Yeah.
And I think the aftermath, for whatever reason, hit me harder. It's going to come out wrong. During our time together, for whatever reason, the box got too full and started
Mm-hmm.
spilling
Yeah.
during the early part of our relationship than it did in my prior. And, so for her to still be here beside me after some of the crap that I've put her through is just insane. So I think all too often we do thank the veterans, but how often do we thank the spouses for
I know.
for all the
I know.
service they put in?
For all
For
the,
dealing with the chat show,
Yeah.
people.
yeah.
No, it's definitely a learning curve,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I absolutely, and I mostly loved what I've learned about the brotherhood, about the behind the scenes. Because one thing is what you see out there as a civilian. I grew up I'm from Venezuela, and I've been here for many years, but you don't see or you don't appreciate that bond and that brotherhood until you're like part of it. And you're like, wow, this is actually beautiful. Like, we could be in elevator somewhere in another town and there will be a veteran.
Yeah, and then
I know, you're like, how do
like
you
a
know?
2-hour conversation, you know?
How do you guys sniff each other's butt as you walk in? This is one of mine.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, he's one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's amazing, but the love and the humbleness and everything that comes with you guys is incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for everything you've done for our country and everything you've given and continue to give back, you know, as years go by. And like I said, hopefully we have you again soon, and thank you and I appreciate you, and we'll Force Blue, and we'll put his Instagram. If you guys have any questions or if you want to be part of Force Blue, you can contact him through the website. So that's it. That's all.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
all.
Thank you.
That's my new word from that TV show.
That's it. That's all.
That's it, and that's all.
Appreciate you.
There's